I have a client actually I just met with yesterday. His jury date was in 2013. That was the first half. And now we're scheduled for the second half in January. So, and a lot of things have changed in 10 years. Wow. So, he's had another kid, some of his kids have aged out. It's just having to completely update that. So.
Damn. Hey, I'm Armando Leduc, producer, film actor, and owner of Leduc Entertainment. I've chosen a life off the beaten path and wanted to find others that are doing the same. Spaghetti on the Wall is a show based on all of the years that I've thrown spaghetti on the wall and nurtured what stuck. We will share fun stories, ideas, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall. What's up, what's up, what's up? Good morning. It could be morning, could be afternoon, could be evening. I don't know when you're listening to this podcast, but welcome to another episode of Spaghetti on the Wall. Today we have Pam Moreno, straight from New Braunfels?
Yes, sir.
New Braunfels. Talk to me about New Braunfels or New Braunfels, or how do you say that?
New Braunfels.
Got it. Are you from there? New Braunfels?
Yes, I am. Born and raised.
And you're an immigration attorney?
That's correct. And I practice in Austin, Texas.
You've been doing that for how long?
As an attorney, 4.5 years.
Oh, wow. You like it?
I actually very much enjoy it. I love it.
Very, very cool. So how do you know Jerry and Jesse? Or do you know Jesse?
So
I know you know Jerry.
I do know Jesse. He's
okay.
More of an acquaintance. I met him through Jerry. So we've partied a little bit for Jerry's birthday recently. But I've known Jerry through his younger brother. So I actually used to be very social with his younger brother. We used to party a lot in our younger days. And then when I moved back to the area, I was looking for a financial advisor, and Jerry at the time was with New York Life. And so we were connected. And then I know like his sisters and his mom. And so I just hadn't actually known Jerry. And then we just became friends. And then I started dating my now fiance, and him and Jerry actually went to high school together. And Jerry's one of our groomsmen in our wedding. So, but he's good people. He's a good mentor, someone that I can call in regards to any aspect of life. So, but he's very a great person. So yes.
That's awesome. So do you have your own firm?
I do not. So I actually work for a firm, a criminal and immigration firm, crimmigration firm, as we like to say, in Austin, Texas, called Peek and Tolan.
Nice. So talk to me about, I haven't had an immigration attorney on. I've had personal injury. I've had family law. I haven't had immigration yet. So talk to me about, sort of the day-to-day that you guys have to deal with.
So specifically, there's so many different types of immigration law. So it depends on what kind of immigration law you're specifically looking for. I handle removal defense. So I try to keep people here from getting deported. And so I mostly represent clients who have been detained by ICE and are trying to get out of detention under a sort of bond. So I'll do bond hearings. Or if they've already been in proceedings, trying to basically find an avenue to be able to keep them here. So kind of going through different defenses. So a day-to-day, basically, we get phone calls from people. Family members are detained for possibly a criminal issue, or ICE, detained them, pulled them over, and was looking for someone else, or for them, knew that they were a visa overstay or whatnot. And then from there, we basically speak with the family, depending on where the case is at, see what we can do in order to help them, whether that's liberating them from detention while they go into the proceedings, which can take many years, or if they're already in removal proceedings and we're going to court with them, trying to fight to keep them here.
In personal injury, they're suing insurance companies. Family
Correct.
law, they're suing each other. Not really, but they're making money from the actual people, right, for the services. How are immigration attorneys, how are they getting paid? They're getting paid from the people?
The clients themselves.
The clients.
Yes. There are many nonprofits, though, that seek grants or some sort of government funding, so to speak, to be able to provide those services. Because, as you mentioned, family cases are civil cases, so there's no attorney that's provided to you, or in personal injury cases as well. There's not an attorney that's provided to you. It's the same thing with immigration. So you actually have to either you have to contract someone. So either you can go to a nonprofit that will charge you nothing or very little, or you can go to a private attorney. And I do work in the private sector. So, but our clients do pay us. Sometimes we do try and get funding from like maybe a consulado, a consulate, abroad. Sometimes we can do that. But it just depends on the case and whether they're willing to help them.
How do you guys find cases? How are people finding y'all?
So Peak and Tolan has been around for 10 years here in the Austin area. So they've pretty kind of have their foot in the door, so to speak. There's not many criminal immigration firms in the Austin area. Most either practice just immigration or criminal. So that's kind of one of the things that we're able to profit on, is the fact that, we are both. So we can handle your criminal case and also handle your immigration case at the same time, which has helped, make us recognizable here. There's also, we do marketing. So we have, like an Instagram. We do have, basically like ads that go out on Google to market. We're trying to expand that market as well, as far as like trying to be more doing community outreach. But honestly, a lot of our clientele is by word of mouth, which has been awesome. It's, helped but it's been awesome because, we haven't had to spend a lot in marketing, but we are trying to expand that to be able to kind of increase our market shares in like north of Austin, Round Rock, Pflugerville, and then also south into San Antonio, since primarily, that's where the immigration court is. So we're just trying to pull more of that clientele, but we really serve Austin and surrounding communities.
When you guys talk about community outreach, what does that mean?
So as far as attending like community events, so if there's, a Jamaica or a festival, is trying to make sure we go and have a table and, have someone at least be the face of the firm and be able to, hey, if you need a consult, that type. We also do give back to the community. So depending, we try and do 2 different community outreaches to different types of churches here in the Austin area. We are a Christian-based firm, so to speak. Our principles and our mission and our core values are founded on Christian principle. So we do try and tag team with some churches in the surrounding area, since we help, refugees, asylum applicants, and they have a lot of resources or a lot of people that, need help. So we try and give back, whether it's financially or providing food, clothing, even manpower to help them out.
Can you tell me a story, and I know you can't name names, but just, sort of tell me an interesting story, in your career that had to do with, immigration and kind of take us through some sort of case that, that was like, oh, wow, this was definitely memorable.
So I would say it's probably a recent case for me. These clients, so it was a man, a wife, and his child. They entered the United States on visas approximately 13 years ago, and they've been here for that long. Once they arrived here, they got settled, decided not to go back to Mexico due to the area of Mexico that they're from. And so they overstayed their visas. Wife got pregnant. She had a son who was born and immediately had kidney issues since he was a child. They spoke to an immigration attorney who actually filed a frivolous asylum application for them. And they weren't really aware of what that was or what the consequences were of that, which basically you file the asylum application, you get to go before an asylum officer, and they adjudicate the application. If they deem it not credible or not enough to the standard, then they'll refer you to the immigration court. So these clients did not know that's what would happen. They were told that they were able to get a work permit, didn't know that there was an asylum being filed on their behalf, or that they would be placed in deportation proceedings. So they were placed into deportation proceedings. That attorney is now disbarred. He's very quite known in San Antonio area for that, but he was disbarred. And because of that, they've been in deportation proceedings now for about 10 years. The daughter does not qualify for DACA because she entered about 6 months after the cutoff time for DACA. And so she's not married. She doesn't have kids. She's actually currently a freshman at a university, in the area. And, their son is still dealing with kidney problems. And so they've been in proceedings all these years. And so we were actually able to get the daughter's case terminated recently under, a memo that came out in April. She has no criminal history or anything like that. So thankfully we were able to get her case terminated, which doesn't mean she has lawful status, doesn't mean she has any sort of documents to be here, but at least allows her to remain here without being deported back to her country. And for the parents, that for them was the biggest relief, because she has no one else in home country. They're here. Their son is a U.S. citizen and he's going through these kidney problems. Well, in those two parents' cases, we were actually able to file for a defense called cancellation of deportation, which the main issue, and there's four elements, but the primary one that most cases lose off of, I would say, is that we have to be able to prove an extreme and unusual hardship. And so I was able to, before their final hearing date, which is before the court, before the judge who will decide, before the government attorney, I had really worked on their case, trying to get documents together from them regarding their sons, writing a brief, kind of explaining all the issues that were going on with him. Even though he's more stable now, obviously we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, he's 12 years old, but he's still dealing with issues. And so we're able to file everything. And mind you, these people, this couple, they've been in proceedings for 10 years, not knowing their fate, right? Whether they're going to get deported, whether they're staying here with their son, kind of what's happening. And that in itself is very traumatic, because that keeps them from being able to really set like roots here, right? Because they don't know if it's all for nothing. So filing the brief and everything, we were able to actually get the government to agree to go ahead and grant them their application. And so we filed the order. I made up an order, because I've never had this situation happen before, and sent it to the judge, and she signed it. And so in about 2 years, because there's a limit on visas available under this for them to become residents, that they will become residents. They will have green cards and they will be able to stay here with their son. They have no criminal history. They're honest people. They work hard. And so for me, I think in that situation, it just goes to show you how long the immigration process can be. So we're talking 10, 11 years, if you don't have the correct attorney helping you out, that can put you into a bigger issue than what you probably knew could happen or would happen. But also just trying to do your job as an attorney to look out for your clients and kind of putting them all in the best situation as possible.
How do you guys keep people educated in this process? From making these mistakes?
It's, so I do also consult with the clients. And so we have as a firm, when they come in to meet with us, whether they hire or do not hire, it's educating them on what their options are. So sometimes we will get, here at this firm, we do have basically what we call a sales team, right? Where people call in and we kind of filter them to see whether it's someone we can help them with or not. And sometimes in those, they're not very good clients. There's not much I'm going to be able to help them with, but I tell the team, like, just go ahead and schedule them. If they still want to meet with an attorney, like, I can still review and explain to them why they don't qualify for something or why. And a lot of times, unfortunately, they've met with attorneys, but attorneys haven't totally educated them on like what the law is or why or things or what they need to be able to prove, why they don't qualify for this, why they may qualify for that. So it's just trying to make sure you educate the client as possible when they come to meet with you. So at least when they walk away, even if there's nothing you can do for them, they at least walked away knowing, why not or why yes.
These stories, do you usually go to court and, there's a jury and everything like that? Or is there, depositions ahead of time? I don't even know if it's called a deposition in that regard.
So immigration court, there is no jury. It's literally just the judge, you, and the Department of Homeland Security, and then your client. So if, someone doesn't have an attorney with them, then obviously they're just speaking with the judge. The judge is your fact finder. So as far as most immigration hearings are about 4 hearings. Your first hearing is presenting yourself. If you don't have an attorney, then you appear pro se. The judge explains why you're there, gives you an opportunity to get an attorney. Second hearing is you appear with an attorney if you're going to get one. If you don't, then the judge will move forward in your case. If you do have an attorney, they will be your voice, and the judge will review something called a notice to appear, which has the allegations and the charges against you, which normally are, you're undocumented, you're not a citizen of the U.S., you entered here the United States, and that you weren't inspected or admitted. Or if you were, it'll say that. And then from there, the judge basically asks, what type of, defense do you have? And if you don't have an attorney, they will ask you a series of questions. If you do, then they'll ask your attorney what type of defense you have and give you a third hearing date to turn in those applications. At that third hearing date, they'll review it. If there's any additional questions, and then they'll set you for a final hearing date, your fourth hearing date, where you will basically present your whole hearing. Immigration courts, though, you're pretty much only allowed like a 3-hour window for jury trial. So it's presenting your case in those 3 hours. Sometimes it can go over. Sometimes, the judge will reschedule it for a second date, which could be in another year and a half. I have a client actually, I just met with yesterday. His jury date was in 2013. That was the first half. And now we're scheduled for the second half in January. So, and a lot of things have changed in 10 years. Wow. So, he's had another kid, some of his kids have aged out. It's just having to completely update that. So,
damn.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, it feels so overwhelming.
It
right?
Can be. Yes, it very much can be.
Especially
when every case is different.
Yeah. How do you manage your mental health?
So I really try and keep my job 8:30 to 5:30, but that's not really true because even on the weekends, I'm reading up on case law. I'm part of different groups. So really just trying to make sure that I try and allot myself at least Sunday to not do anything with work. And that, and just being able to be with my family and enjoy time with my family. I'm trying to do better. I used to be really bad at it at the beginning. Now I see a therapist, now, I do yoga, or I even do meditation sometimes, read a book that doesn't have to do with case law, but rather just, my faith or being a better leader. As the managing attorney for the removal department, I do have 2 paralegals, and I had another attorney, but right now I'm the only attorney handling my caseload. But even then, I have to report to a sales team. I have to report to a boss. I have, so it's just trying to make sure that I'm ahead of it. But just in regards to, like I said, with mental health, it's just making sure I allot that time for myself and trying to do things that clear my brain. I love to travel, so that's also another part. When I travel, I disconnect my email from my phone because I'm one of those who will check my phone even at 2 a.m., just like there's something updated, even when I've been on trips. So I've done better now, but just trying to make sure that I can only do what I can do for now and today, and just take it day by day. That's really all I can do.
Yeah. When you are talking to the judge, right, you're presenting the case. It's really about story, right? Like, I mean, you're really wanting to do a good storytelling so that you can convince the judge that, okay, yeah, these folks deserve, a break, or they deserve, the judgment to go in their way. How do you study, sort of storytelling and, being a better communicator in the courtroom?
So every judge is different. So that's the first thing, is knowing who my judge will be. Some judges kind of don't allow you to do the storytelling type thing. Not that they tell you can't do it, but it's, when they get the case, they're like, Miss Moreno, you submitted, and they just start going through it, like this exhibit, this exhibit, this exhibit. So I kind of have a cheat sheet, just to make sure that they pinpoint all the right things. At the end, they'll usually ask me, is there anything else you would like to add? And at that point is where whatever they didn't say or things I want to reiterate and make sure that they understood or stood out to them, I'll do at that point. I watch other attorneys sometimes, just to see. With COVID, obviously it's a little bit difficult to do that, but now we all appear via Zoom. So even then, hearing, the arguments or what they say, it helps me at least be able to form different types of, arguments for the judge. The other thing is when judge write opinions, I read those to see what they're saying in the opinions, because sometimes I can use that verbiage when I'm making my own arguments with a different judge or that same judge. And then also just paying attention to what the the government attorney, we call them trial attorneys, although we're trial attorneys too, but just paying attention to the government attorney as far as what they're saying and what they're trying to get across. I think the issue with lawyers, myself included, is we like to talk a lot, but we don't remember to listen. So I've learned that when you listen to what the judge is saying and what the government attorney, your opposing counsel, is saying, you can literally learn what you need to say or not say. And I think that's a skill that I've acquired over the years. It's not so much who can talk the most, it's who can really be concise and get to the point of what the judge is asking or wanting, as well as what the government is trying to say.
That's cool. Are there any trainings? Does anybody like train lawyers to do stuff like that?
Yes, there is a training that I've done with NITA. I don't know exactly what it stands for. It's like the National Institute of Trial Advocacy. Maybe I do. And it and they help you basically how to be an immigration attorney, because obviously an immigration attorney in the courtroom is different than a personal injury who's going to trial, or a criminal defense attorney, so it's a little bit different. But they really put together a training to make you know how to handle final trial. We call them final merits hearings in immigration, but being able to really what to pinpoint, how to direct your witness, how to exam an expert witness, and even if any of the government attorneys have any witnesses, which is very rare, how to be able to do a cross on them as well, which is really awesome, because I've learned with them to kind of how to be more concise in my questions. Being able to, that's something I was always nervous about, because to be honest, I never found myself to be an attorney in the courtroom. I thought I was going to be a quote unquote paper pusher, immigration attorney, where a lot of the things, we file family petitions and things like that go to USCIS, the Center for Immigration. But I ended up finding myself in the courtroom. So it's very different. So those are, I was very nervous at the beginning, but that training helped me. And like I said, just kind of watching other attorneys as well. There's CLEs that are conducted for immigration as well. So a lot of it sometimes is knowledge based. So I've learned when I'm comfortable in what I'm speaking about, then I have no problem conducting myself a certain way. But when I don't feel very knowledgeable or I'm not sure, then obviously kind of hold my tongue back a little bit more. So I just want to make sure that in what I do, that I'm always up to date with the law, so that way I can speak better and be able to argue better for my client. But I think it's just making sure, as far as training, that you're knowledgeable in the law, current immigration law, and speaking with other attorneys too. Finding out what they're seeing and what's kind of coming their way, so that way and you're prepared.
What do you dislike most about your job?
Our reputation. Not so much lawyers, but immigration lawyers. I think coming from, my dad's from Mexico. I had cousins that were in removal proceedings and were deported. And I remember my aunt, my tia, telling me, she had spent all this money on an immigration attorney, and that attorney couldn't really explain to her why or what was going on. Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know if maybe the attorney was, and my aunt just wasn't comprehending, because sometimes the issues are complex. And I see that even now as an immigration attorney on the other side. But I feel sometimes, as that story that I mentioned earlier, having an attorney that doesn't really explain and puts you in a worse situation. And it's awful when you have clients that come in and, that they say, well, this attorney didn't do this or didn't do that. And in most part, you try and take the attorney's side, maybe they did, maybe the client just didn't understand. But then sometimes you see the work that they did and you're like, wow, the client's actually not telling a lie. They're actually telling the truth.
Right.
So I think immigration attorneys, we really sometimes have a bad reputation for taking money and not being able to do anything, or we advise incorrectly. And that's the hard part. I think the other thing is we're also competing with notarios, which are, people who try and act like they're lawyers, but they're not licensed lawyers. They're not lawyers. And so therefore they help fill out documentation and, send it in for the clients. And sometimes it's totally wrong, totally incorrect. I'm dealing with that with a Cuban client currently. He hired a notario to fill out an adjustment application for him, and they did it totally incorrect. And then, they send in this application. They're paying, $1,225 for this application, and it's all wrong.
Man.
So I think it's that. So you're also competing with notarios. And then sometimes I feel like I'm practicing defensively, not just against, a judge or a government attorney, but sometimes even my clients, because they don't do what you ask of them. So I've had a couple of clients where I give them a list. I give them like, hey, I need it. I give them a deadline, and I let them know if there's anything, I can do to help. You can bring the documents at any time. And a lot of them wait till the last moment. And we have filing deadlines, so it's really hard. It's like, you want me to put the best defense. I'm telling you, I give you these deadlines specifically,
Right.
so that way we'd be able to get these, and then you don't bring me what I want. And so then it's like, we go in front of the judge, and the judge is inquiring, and they try and throw me under the bus. And it's like,
Right.
so now I have to throw you under the bus. So it's like, and sometimes I just take it because I'd rather it be me than the client. But sometimes it's really just difficult because you want to be the best lawyer that you can be, or at least I do, and be able to provide the best defense. And it's difficult when my client isn't helping me do that.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, well, first, let me know where people can find you if they're in a situation. When would I be calling you? Like, in what situation, would I be reaching out?
So if your family member is undocumented, and they are in a criminal issue, they were detained for, unfortunately, a lot of our clients they have a pending assault, family violence, or a DWI, and they're detained in county jail, and they have an ICE hold. And so I definitely would tell people to hire immediately when there's an ICE hold, because sometimes bonding out your brother or your sister or your cousin or whoever is not the best situation, because with an ICE hold, they will go straight to immigration detention. And if they have a really severe charge, like aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or possession of controlled substance, I wouldn't want you to move your family member to detention, where basically it's very limited relief that's going to be available to them, or possibility of getting out on a bond because of the pending charge. So I would definitely say at that point, or if ICE just comes to the house or an apartment complex, and they're looking for one individual and inquire about others, and they don't have documents and they are taken to ICE, then obviously contact us then as well, because maybe we can get them out on a bond. Maybe we can get them out on a parole request or release on recognizance, or if not, even representing them in their immigration proceedings, and hopefully, find an avenue to keep them here.
But you only deal with
Pekin.
You guys just deal with people in Texas, though, right?
Yes. Well, from the criminal aspect, as far as immigration, I can practice anywhere. But I would recommend only for bonds, because bonds are a little bit different. I only have to prove, flight risk and danger. Whereas in your in your immigration defense, your removal defense, you're going to be placed in a court, and they're all different around the country. So I would say if it was in regards to a bond anywhere in the country, you can definitely reach out. If someone was recently detained and placed into removal proceedings, then yes, we can represent them on a bond or a parole request. But if it's like they've already been out on parole and it's for their removal defense, and their court hearing is in Washington or Seattle or California, then I would definitely recommend an immigration attorney in those that are located closer to those immigration courts, just because they're going to know the law that's in those circuits specifically. Right. That'll pertain to their case.
Makes sense. All right. And where can they find you?
So I'm at Peak and Tolan, and we're in Austin, Texas. You can Google us. We're also known under Los Abogados Güeros, because both of the partners are güeritos. They're Caucasian men, but they both speak Spanish, and so that's something that they're known for as Los Abogados Güeros. Our phone number is also 512-474-4445. And then I, Pamela Moreno, work here. So that's somewhere where they can ask to speak with me or consult with me, and they will pass on the information to myself. Yes.
That's awesome. All right, y'all. Pamela, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Love to have you back. Loved having those questions answered. Definitely a wealth of knowledge. If you guys are in need of an immigration attorney, please reach out to Pamela Moreno. And that's our show, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment. For all of your digital marketing needs, social media, videos, we got you. We'll see y'all next week on Spaghetti on the Wall, wherever you can find podcasts. Thanks, guys.